Hello, everybody. This
Hello.
another edition of the Irreverent Therapists, and I'm joined with my partner in conspiracy, Pam Houghteling. And today's episode is about, are you always there for others? Are you always there for others? Do you feel good about complimenting them and telling them how brilliant they are? But what if you did that for you? Because most of us don't. What if you acknowledged all of the amazing things that you have been and done and actualized? Is this selfish or egotistical? Not at all. It's actually a contribution to the universe and an inspiration for others. Uncovering your light and letting it shine is one of the kindest and most generous things you can do for yourself and other people. Yay!
Yay. You know what that makes me think of? This is actually from a coach I worked with years and years and years ago. And what she talked about, she was talking about how we don't acknowledge what we have created.
Yes.
We're always looking at what we haven't done yet. And the way she put it is, if you're out walking, somewhere where you can see the horizon, right? Mm-hmm. No matter how far you go, you can always see the horizon. It's always up there in front of you. You don't ever get to it.
Right.
Right. And so what we tend to do is we could, especially being the amazing humanoid creators that we are, we're always aware of there's more possible. I could, this could be created, that could be created. So there's always that horizon. And if we don't stop and look behind at what we've actually created and where we've been, we don't acknowledge it. We're just always judging ourselves for not having gotten there yet.
Right. Right.
So that really spoke to me. And, this whole topic speaks to me because I'm someone who is very quick to judge myself for what I haven't created.
Right.
And sometimes I need the reminder to look at what I have created.
Absolutely. I still find myself falling into that. It's just like a habit. Mm-hmm. Like at the end of yesterday, I was like, well, what did I really get done today? I mean, I should have done this. And I went, wait a minute, Marilyn. You were on 2.5 hours of create meetings and a lot got created. You did a bunch of reading. You did a little bit of organizing. You totally cleaned up the house. You took care of 2 baby squirrels, sort of. I'm still dealing with the baby squirrels because I'm not really sure what to do. And then you treated yourself. They have something in Santa Fe called the First Wednesday Walks. And I live on a road that's a gallery and restaurant place. And they shut it down. And then all the galleries are open. They have music, they have some wine bars and other bars and just regular good old food, pizza and stuff. And I went, you know what? I'm going to go out. I've done it before and it was fun, but I thought I'm just going to go by myself. I had a wonderful time. It was very inspiring and invigorating. And I sat down and listened to music and I thought, actually, I had a lovely day and I created quite a bit. And one thing I've noticed is we don't acknowledge creation when it's about being ourselves, being up, being happy, being joyful. If you do that, and I was that walking around and people were like, hi. And I was having people laugh and this and that.
Yeah.
That's a huge contribution.
Well, and I'm so glad you said that because, you know me, I am someone who will make a to-do list. It's part of how I when there's a lot going on, if I write it down, it helps me kind of go, okay, it's all there. I can sort this out. And it's so easy, I think, for people to go to, well, acknowledgement is about acknowledging what I did. Yes. Right. I checked this off. I checked this off. Yeah. If I checked a lot of things off, it was a good day. If I didn't check anything off, I was slacking off or something like that. And what you said about what you be in the world, because Marilyn, I'm going to guess, actually, I don't even have to guess. I can be aware of it. What you walking in that neighborhood event and the people you interacted with what that energy contributed to everything that was being created there. Because, just who you be in the world is a contribution.
Oh,
And
thank
you
you.
choosing to go out and, whether it was smile at this person or, have a quick exchange about something with some other person, all of that is creating a movement of energy in the world.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and it was just a joyful experience. It really truly was. And that brings up something else. Well, it's kind of related, but one of the other things I've realized, this has not been what people would call an easy year for me for a whole variety of reasons. Using the access tools, you know what? I'm good. I ask questions about each thing. But what it has brought up is like last year, I traveled a lot internationally. It seems like I created more, but we very rarely look at the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if I'm not creating today, that means I'm a mess. Or, and that's like generalized to the whole rest of my life.
Right, right.
So it's so important to go, okay, in the big picture, is what I'm being and doing today, what does that create? And sometimes it's just smooth. It's okay, Marilyn. If you want to, do a bunch of stuff in the morning, even have lunch out, come back and just watch Netflix for a while, play with the kitty, clean up the house a little bit.
Yeah.
There's not one, generally speaking, there's not one day or one event that has to signify what the whole rest of your life is going to be, particularly in what we're talking about. I realize there are major events in people's lives, deaths and births and marriages, but just on a day-to-day basis, please don't judge your life based on a day or a week or anything. Just keep asking questions. And one of the questions that I love in Access is, if I choose this, what does that create? And sometimes I'm really surprised. Like, if I choose to just go home, chill, have a nap, what does that create? And it's like really light and expansive. I'm like, okay, never mind. And maybe I'll, after the nap, get up and do something else. And maybe I won't. But the getting out of the judgment and the generalization of what a day was to everything else, I think, is really critical.
Well, and one of the tools I really love that's like the one you just talked about is this part of the change I've been asking for?
Oh, yes. And you ask me that all the time.
Yes. And is this contributing to everything I'd like to create? Because, sometimes that, like, I find sometimes when I've been traveling and off at some big classes and things like that, and I come home, I mean, this happened recently after a certified facilitator training in Rome. And I was watching Netflix for like 3 days.
Good on you, Pam.
I really should look at some emails, but now I'm still binging this TV show. And I said something about it to one of my colleagues, like, gosh, I haven't been doing anything. And she said, yeah, but what are you being? And by giving yourself this space to kind of, in whatever way my body and I required to process and integrate the massive change that had been going on, I emerged from that just so inspired and so ready to actually accomplish some things, right? And if I judge myself for the requiring the kind of downtime, then I can't actually receive what it is and what it can contribute to me. Whereas if I'm willing to just be like, oh, is this part of the change I've been asking for? Is this contributing to everything I'd like to create? If that's a yes, then I can just relax and enjoy it.
Exactly.
And I wanted to point out, in the description, you had written something about, is it selfish or egotistical? And I think we are so taught from a young age that anything that's actually acknowledging your strengths and how good you are at something or what you bring to something is considered, like being all full of yourself.
Right.
And So, what if you can destroy and uncreate all of those things and just be willing to acknowledge what you bring to your work, your family, yourself, because when you acknowledge it, you can have even more.
Yes. And you inspire other people.
You
really
inspire
do.
other people.
Yeah. Oh, it's not wrong to say, I'm so happy with what I created yesterday. No. But even that first sentence, are you always there for others? That's what most of us are taught to be and do as children. My job was to make my mother happy, which was impossible. That was
so you're always failing at that job, and there's nothing to acknowledge yourself for.
The job my father assigned to me, because he was a workaholic. And that's it. We're often judging ourselves as failures and looking at what we haven't accomplished because we're trying to solve somebody else's problem, and it doesn't work. It never works. You can't make anyone else happy. You can't fix their problems. Yeah. But that's one way that, whatever you want to call it, this reality or culture, whatever, keeps us all absolutely contained in this wrongness and failure sense. And that takes all the energy away.
Yeah.
From creating and from being us.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted. My house cleaners are arriving over there. A lot going on in my house today.
There's a lot going on, Pam.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because it's, when your role in your family or at your job or whatever is to make everything work or make everybody happy, you can't do that. And so then you're constantly judging yourself, constantly failing at that. And what if you actually just acknowledge what you do be and what you do bring to it?
Because when you're trying to make everybody else happy, that's what we call a slavior.
Yeah.
You're a combination of a savior and a slave to those people, and they get to control you. Isn't that fun?
Oh, yes. That is so fun. You know what this makes me think of is, because I am definitely somebody who had to work a lot on the self-doubt, and it's not okay to think well of myself, really. Right. And when I actually, and I did a lot of therapy, I did a lot of stuff to change that. But even so, in the work I do with Access Consciousness, that, a few years ago, I realized that I wasn't willing to truly acknowledge my capacities.
Yes.
When I did, guess what? I became someone who contributed even more to everything we were creating. Yeah. Instead of it being selfish, egotistical, it's acknowledging what is. Mm-hmm. If you're present with areas that could use some change in how you function, and areas that you really excel at and are making great strides in changing things, being present with it and acknowledging what is, allows you to then leap off of that into more and greater.
Yes. I mean, if you're constantly trying to help a colleague who hates their job, what does that do? They're going to hate their job. They've already decided they hate their job. And that's going to distract you from doing a great job. What if instead you just went, I'm so sorry you hate your job. Maybe it's time to look for another job, or maybe we can change something. And then you just leave it alone and you go about loving your job and being that energy. And that's going to do one of two things. It's really going to piss them off, or it's going to give them the opportunity or the possibility of, wait a minute, maybe it's okay to love your job. Maybe her whole family hated their jobs, and that's the only thing she or he learned. If you have a job, you have to hate it. Work's horrible. This person seems to like their job. I wonder if I could do that. A lot of times going ahead and acknowledging and being creative and being the joy that we be is actually what gives people a different possibility. And we don't really recognize that.
Yep. And so what if acknowledging you gives you a different possibility
Yes.
and everyone around you invites them to a different possibility as well?
Yes.
So don't do it. Don't acknowledge yourself. Never, ever. Just don't do it. It won't create anything.
You don't create anything. And you can start by just making yourself a list. Every day or every other day, what 5 things or whatever can I acknowledge myself for today?
Yeah.
And it can be things like cleaning the refrigerator. It can be things like writing another chapter in my book. It can be things like acknowledging that I just need a rest.
Yeah.
And I took it and now I feel more energized.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, anything else, Marilyn, or should I cue the music?
I think we've hit the highlights here.
Go acknowledge you. And I'm going to hope the music goes over the noise outside my window.
There's no noise out there.
Oh, good.
Bye-bye.
Bye.